Welcome to Supply Chain Partners TV and podcast, where we discuss innovative services and strategies delivered by our members at Supply Chain Partners. Our members can help you to build a high-performing business and supply chain. I'm Dr Sharyn Grant, the founder of Supply Chain Partners. I've worked within the logistics and supply chain management field for over 20 years, and I specialise in strategic supply chain performance management. In today's episode, we're celebrating CeMAT Australia, and soon we'll be talking to one of the speakers at CeMAT about addressing labour shortages in the supply chain industry. Supply Chain Partners is proud to be an official industry partner of CeMAT Australia. CeMAT Australia is the world's leading trade fair for Industry 4.0, intralogistics, materials handling and supply chain management. And this year it is taking place on the 19th to the 21st of July at the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre. CeMAT Australia is the only event of its kind dedicated to the technology of warehousing, materials handling, intralogistics, supply chain and e-commerce. All professionals within these fields are invited to register for free to join over 2,500 attendees, over 80 exhibitors and 50 speakers. The three-day conference program brings a diverse mix of keynote speakers, innovators and experts, panel discussions, case studies and much more. The CeMAT Australia exhibition is the platform for the latest industry innovations and for exchanging ideas and insights on the warehouse of the future. It will be a one-stop shop of leading technology and service providers in the materials handling and warehousing industry with cutting-edge product demonstrations. CeMAT Australia provides a unique opportunity to meet with logistics and supply chain professionals to create lasting relationships. You will find all the details regarding CeMAT Australia on their website at cemat.com.au. Let's now introduce you to one of the speakers at CeMAT Australia and our guest for today. With us today is Kat Attana, the Executive Board Member of Women in Supply Chain. Kat will be speaking at CeMAT Australia conference on the topic, how to address labour shortages in the supply chain industry. Welcome, Kat. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Sharyn. It's great to be here.
The overall theme of CeMAT Australia this year is Beyond Resilience, Rethinking, Reinforcing and Reconnecting the Supply Chain. The conference and exhibition are embracing the changes to the way we work and the technological advances shaping everything from warehousing to transport and to the retail experience of the future. Kat, I'm keen to discuss the topic of your speech, how to address labour shortages in the supply chain industry. Could you please provide us with an overview of what you will be covering and how you have tied your speech to the conference theme?
Thanks, Sharyn. That's right. At CeMAT, I will be addressing a very popular topic, the labour shortages in supply chain industry and what can be done about it. It is a topic very close to my heart as I've spent the last 20 years myself in that industry. Pre-COVID, we focused on more conventional skills, conventional thinking, and there had not been any real shocks or genuine talk about contingencies, as there weren't really any real use cases in practice. That meant the execution of the supply chain was more driven through low costs, through intervention of procurement teams, following so-called good governance. And I took a lot of the control of the supply chain function. During COVID, skills now needed from our logistics and supply chain professionals are very different, unconventional. It's the same with operations. Competing for labor and equipment took on new dynamics. So people didn't just chase salaries to pay their bills. They wanted to be part of something more and now had the power to choose. So from the perspective of people, the skills are not always technical logistics skills, but problem solving, creative thinking, calibration and risk management, which is going beyond resilience, as CeMAT appropriately chose for its theme. In my speech, I'd like to share some ideas on how to address these challenges. The areas I'll be looking at is leadership, interventions on how to lift people, encourage careers in supply chain, and how to build a pipeline for future leaders, new talent, how to attract new people into the industry, and some alternatives, how robust supply chains can leverage new tech, automation, data, and smarts into potentially reducing the labour force or making the current labour force more effective.
Thank you, Kat. That is a very interesting speech, and it will get a lot of people thinking about your key takeaways to address labour shortages in the supply chain industry. Now, I know you've had an amazing career in supply chain and have a very busy lifestyle. Could you please tell us a bit more about your life and career?
Yeah, absolutely, Sharon. So I guess I was born and raised in East Germany, and halfway through my childhood, the countries reunited. And once the wall came down, I took every opportunity to travel with my family or try to find some overseas school holiday program. In my adult life, I spent time living in the US, Cuba, Spain, and Hong Kong prior to moving to Australia 14 years ago. I've always been really passionate in supply chain and its people. And I guess the reasons why I'm so attracted to that industry is because it's forever moving and changing. And it's exactly the environment I love. So I had opportunities, to work in Hong Kong in a regional business process role for 3 years. I got to travel a lot in Asia and see other offices of that business I worked for, and work with a lot of people in operations, IT, and sales across the globe. Later on, I moved to Australia for personal reasons and also have 3 kids. So that sort of explains my last 10 years at all. I've always been in commercial roles since I've left Hong Kong and genuinely care about my customers and their outcome. 12 months ago, I made the decision to leave a long career at Toll, and I joined a little startup at uTenant, so a bit more about that later. But I also wanted to make a difference in the industry, which brought me to Women in Supply Chain, where I joined the executive board.
Thank you, Kat. You have a very full and interesting life and career that's been very rewarding. Now, you mentioned Women in Supply Chain, which I understand is a voluntary group open to all women and men in the supply chain, and it's free to join. Could you please explain what the Women in Supply Chain group do and how it helps women to start a career in the supply chain and help them through their career?
Absolutely, Sharon. I'm really passionate about Women in Supply Chain. It is a volunteer organization open to all women and men in the industry. And we are passionate about supporting women in transport and logistics to reach their optimal potential through collaboration, meeting, sharing knowledge, and experience with like-minded professionals. So we aim to represent the women in supply chain, the logistics industry, and make women visible. How do we achieve that? We believe networking is one of the best ways to support women in their career. So we hold free events where women from any level of their career can join. And we have a great mix of members from junior to senior industry professionals who attend these events, share stories, experiences, and their own connections in a safe and casual environment. Upon request, we also connect our members with mentors and senior industry leaders and organize site visits and training events to offer exposure to career opportunities within our industry.
Thanks, Kat. The Women in Supply Chain group sounds like an excellent community and a resource to support women and men in the supply chain. Now, I'm a big fan of supply chain technology, and you mentioned that you lead the business development unit at uTenant, which is a fast-growing warehousing startup. Could you please explain what uTenant is and how it works?
Yes, absolutely. uTenant is more than just a tech platform. We are actually a disruptor in both the supply chain and industrial property space. We have built our platform to connect anyone who has warehousing space with those who need it. But we're not just a matchmaker for product owners and 3PLs. We also offer solutions around the supply chain, warehousing, and industrial property. Some of those solutions are like logistics sourcing, like you need a new provider, warehouse design, automation tenders, or other supply chain consulting services that we tailor make for you. Industrial property, short or long term, is enabled by JLL, Jones Lang LaSalle, our minority shareholder. The team has access to JLL's full scale of global property resources, empowering our team to come up with what is best for our clients' businesses now and in the future.
That is truly an amazing service offering. Well, thank you very much, Kat, for joining us today from Women in Supply Chain. We wish you all the very best with your speech at CeMAT Australia.
Thank you very much, Sharon. It was great to be here.
Thanks, Kat. Well, that concludes today's episode about CeMAT Australia and addressing labour shortages in the supply chain industry. So head on over to CeMAT Australia website at cemat.com.au, where you'll be able to register for free and find all the details regarding the conference agenda and the speakers and exhibition. So join us again at Supply Chain Partners TV and podcast, where we meet with experts from across Australia to discuss key business and supply chain issues, topics and trends, including logistics, supply chain management, technology, and much more. Be sure to click the subscribe button to this Supply Chain Partners channel. We look forward to you joining us again in a future episode.